All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new movie review, and I was just able to get away from all of the craziness that has been going on with social media over the last couple of days. And if you haven't seen the last two videos I put up, I highly encourage you to go to check them out. It's nothing that I could talk about above and beyond what's happened in those two videos until I'm allowed to talk about it. But I will do a big update on that story here shortly in the future as soon as I am able to. Now, I was able to finally go out after the debacle of trying to see Madam Web the other day, where the movie was going to be 45 minutes late in getting started. I couldn't stick around, and I finally had the time to be able to go back and see it today. And this movie stars Dakota Johnson as Madam Web. She's Cassandra in the film. You've got the other big name would be Sydney Sweeney, who plays Julia Cornwell. And you have Celeste O'Connor, who plays Maddie Franklin. And you have Isabella Merced, who plays Anya Corazon. Now, these individuals are all tied together. And if you've seen the trailers, we know what the movie's supposed to be about. And I almost call this somewhat of a bait-and-switch film. Did I hate this as much as critics do? Absolutely not. And it's important to know how I rank the Sony Spiderverse films. There's been two different Venom films. My wife and I both enjoyed the first one. Second one, I liked it a little more than my wife did, but it wasn't as good as the first, but it was still entertaining. And then you had Morbius, which to me was a middle-of-the-road film. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. There was nothing I really hated about the film, but there was nothing that I loved about the film. It was very forgettable, and so I split it down the middle, and I believe if I remember right, I think I gave that movie 2.5 stars. Couldn't give it 3. 3 means, yeah, it's entertaining, and I would go see it again, or be entertained by seeing it again, and Morbius, I certainly was not. So where does Madam Web fall? Right there with Morbius. And let's talk about this film. This film was more of a setup. I feel like it's not a complete movie, and I felt like I got ripped off when the credits started to roll. Because at the beginning of the film, we're introduced to a sequence where you have all these Spider-Women fighting together, which I'm going to tell you guys right now, never comes to fruition in the film. We don't get to see them really in this movie, except for a flash forward at one point for something that's going to happen way in the future. Now, what this movie did was rely heavily on the Spider-Man mythos, or whatever you want to call it, the Spider-Man history, the world of Spider-Man. They mention Jonah. They mention, Uncle Ben is actually in the film, and he becomes Uncle Ben in the film. There's all these things that happen in the film that let you know that this is tied to the Spider-Man universe. And it takes place, the majority of the story takes place in 2003, which would probably make this the current Spider-Man's universe, but they don't ever clarify that in the film. And this movie is nothing other than a big setup of creating Madam Web. And I don't know Marvel, and so I don't know Madam Web at all. But I envision what she is by the end of the movie is what people might expect is going to be who she is much sooner than the very end. It feels like by the time the movie ends, the story is just getting started and you want to see more. And the unfortunate thing is, I don't think this movie is going to do well enough for them to even consider doing a sequel. And so I think this is a movie that people should skip. If you're interested in seeing it, watch it at home. There's nothing to really hate in the film, but there's nothing to really say, to write home about. I did enjoy seeing a more darker version of someone who looked like Spider-Man, but I got to tell you, the guy who plays the bad guy in the film, this evil Spider-Man character, the camera shots whenever they showed him doing action were weird. Like if he is running across a building, the cameras at his angle running across the building, so they had to get away, so they could get away from doing some crazy, FX shots where it was going to cost them a lot of money. And it just was kind of weird the way it was filmed. Okay, the way the whole story played out wasn't like a well thought out, well planned, well storyboarded movie. It was like cut in very weird. Yeah, the only thing that I really liked about the movie was every time she was getting her powers or learning that she could do stuff from the past, she could live through a sequence and then fix that, what was going to happen in the future. It was pretty cool, but the whole movie, she's like this. She's wondering what's going on with her powers, too. And so it got goofy after a while. And, if you saw the trailer, there's a sequence with the girls all in the forest, and somebody throws something at Madam Web, and it was really awkward in the trailer. Like, whoever put that trailer together should never put a trailer together ever again. It was poorly filmed because the movie wasn't like that. It wasn't that bad. In fact, that sequence wasn't bad at all. But it was just a sequence that went on for way, way, way too long and didn't move the story forward at all. Like I said, all this was an elaborate setup for Madam Web's history, which at the end of the day wasn't all that interesting when what we wanted to see were the three girls becoming Spider-Women, which we don't get to see. But I do want to point out that since this happens before Spider-Man, it's that agenda again to make the women better than the men. They're the first and they are better. And that's kind of what the sense you get from this movie. It is definitely the woman power type thing, but it didn't work well for the Marvels, and it didn't really work well here. But I will tell you, I enjoyed this way more than I did Marvels. And so I cannot recommend the film, but I thought it was entertaining, and, I probably liked it a little more than I did Morbius, but I still have to give it 2.5 stars because it's really not a movie. It's not beefy. There's not enough there to grasp onto, and it's unfortunate. This movie had a great idea, but I don't think it was executed as well as it could have been. But you'll enjoy it if you see it, but I wouldn't run out to go see it. I'd probably catch it when it gets released for streaming. All right, guys, there's my review, 2.5 out of 5 stars. I appreciate all the support. We will see you on the next video.